Boom, we are recording. This is season 2, episode 2 of the Bodhi Bros. I am John with a J.
And I am Bodhi Ray, and today we have Awakening the Divine Masculine.
Dun, dun, dun.
So, how would you define the Divine Masculine?
Jeez. Well, I would define divine masculine energy as forward moving energy.
Yeah.
I would also say that the divine masculine represents, and this is a term that I'm not very, was not very familiar with as not too long ago. It was maybe like 2 years ago. I just heard echoes of that. I'm like, what is this I keep hearing about divine masculine? It's one of those phrases that just missed me. Or I'd hear it and not be too interested. I'm like, oh, it sounds like some religious stuff. It's not for me.
Right.
And like, what is that? What is that? And it found me when the time was right. So I've come to find, I wrote down a little list of the things through listening to some videos, some people that we love, that the divine masculine represents action,
Yes.
direction, again, forward movement, responsibility, strength, focused, fatherhood, generosity, encouragement, material abundance, clarity, intellect, authority, transformation, and growth. These were all from a Teal Swan video that I watched a long time ago and then not too long ago on the topic. And I agreed with most all of that. And I saw some other definitions
Yeah.
hovering around the
The
internet.
way the way I defined it was divine authenticity put into action.
And that sums it all up, folks.
That's kind of how I, after meditating on it, that's kind of what I came out with. But I agree with all those things that you said too. It's we both have those actions, those energies within us. We both have divine feminine, which is passive, and divine masculine, which is active. And some of us have maybe a little bit more divine feminine. Some of us have a little bit more divine masculine in us. It's not always going to be, equally split. And that's okay. That's okay. There's no right or wrong. However, a lot of us do have suppressed divine masculinity, and I was one of those people. And that was a big theme for me this year, was awakening divine masculine in me. And even going back towards our last episode about demons, that was sort of what was coming out. I mean, that was sort of like that demon, that part of me that I suppressed, that was trying to get my attention, that needed to come out, that take action, stand up.
How was that manifesting as a demon?
Well, this is going to sound very kind of crazy, because it kind of came out in a supernatural sort of sense. I was sleeping on the couch, which is across from me right now, and I had a dream, and I woke up and I had sleep paralysis. And actually, right here, where this bookcase is here, there used to be a like a tiki statue right in the corner. And right out of this corner, I saw this like shadow dude came out towards me. And he started, I don't remember exactly what he was saying anymore, but I couldn't move, and I was just scared, and I saw black smoke. And I'm not really an angel kind of person, but I just felt the need to call on my angels. So I called on the angels, everything disappeared, and I was able to move. However, I felt this nervous energy, this real scared energy in the corner over here. Well, this is while I was up. This everything I could move. The tiki statue was about maybe 4 foot tall. It started trembling, and it fell over and busted in half. And I ended up staging everything. Contacted a couple people that I knew who were mediums, who kind of knew more about this stuff than I did. And it just came eventually throughout this year, through meditation. The energy eventually came back again later on. And really what that was suppressed energy to it was the suppressed divine masculine coming forth. And like we said before in the last video about demons, that suppressed energy will manifest itself in many different ways. And that's how it needed to get my attention, because I needed that for what happened later on in the year, when I was going through a relationship and my person was cheating on me and everything. And I knew, and I wish I would have had that part awakened in me. If I'd had that part awakened in me, I wouldn't have suffered like I did as much,
Mm.
because I knew things were going on, and I didn't trust my instincts. I knew stuff was going on behind, and she was lying, and I knew this stuff, and I stood up and I questioned her, but I didn't stand up enough, that part of that regret. So then after that, I went through some other, like, just small, not even real relationships, where those kind of situations kind of came up, and I had to, like, I almost had to prove that I learned my lesson and stand up and be like, okay, this is wrong. You know what? Put myself first. And really, it really always comes back down to self-love,
Mm.
loving yourself. So I had to suppress divine masculine. And I think what happens, why is the divine masculine gets suppressed? Well, obviously part of the reason is because of trauma. Early childhood trauma causes it. Maybe we weren't allowed to express ourselves at a young age, and we end up suppressing that.
So,
Um,
so maybe some of the things that I listed off were things that were not safe to express. You're
right,
saying, so maybe like material abundance was not okay in your household, right? And it was like stop being so selfish, or we live paycheck to paycheck. Money doesn't grow on trees. Those type of things would make you feel like, oh, I'm not, I'm not. It's not okay to want a new car or a big house or something like that, right?
right.
And also, maybe what's one of the other ones, um, like transformation. Maybe your parents, you're always trying to you're wanting to do new things or challenge yourself, and your parents were stifling those efforts or something, and saying like we can't afford this, or just be happy with what you have.
Or
And
kind of keep you in a comfort zone.
right, right. Through their own example, or by the way that they treated you when you brought them ideas or opportunities to want to transform. Yeah, that makes sense. How about also um, the stigma of of what masculinity is? So like toxic masculinity versus divine masculinity.
Yeah. Okay. What I would say that is toxic toxic is may have it causes from an imbalance. So it's an imbalance in, I guess, we call it the lower chakras. So someone who is expressing the divine masculine is somebody who is awakened to higher planes of consciousness.
Experiencing a few technical difficulties today, folks. We have some new equipment that we're working the bugs out. And Ray, do we have you back yet? Ray, come in one time, Ray.
Yeah, I'm okay.
Oh yeah, here he is. All right. So toxic masculinity.
So usually it causes from an imbalance, and I guess you could say the lower chakras, which would be, survival, fight, flight, expression of sexual expression, healthy sexual expression, and creativity, and a sense of self-worth, which would be the third chakra. So there's kind of an imbalance in that. A lot of times what happens is sometimes you could still be an awakened person, but have those things be imbalanced. So a lot of times what happens is we have an awakening moment where we awaken to higher planes of consciousness, but our lower selves, our individual selves, there's still imbalances. There's still stuff that needs to be healed. So a lot of times people who have suppressed divine masculinity are people who are people pleasers, people who are nice people, who kind of suppress their own authenticity because they're looking for approval or acceptance. And they will sometimes use the spirituality as a way to bypass that. They'll say, Oh, well, it's good to put other people first. That's spirituality. You're supposed to do that. That's an expression of love. Um, you know, being compassionate. You might label that as putting yourself first as ego, and ego is the enemy. So a lot of times, spiritual people will use those spiritual terms to kind of justify that suppression.
So you're saying that that's one way that toxic masculinity can manifest is in that particular way, right?
Yeah, yeah,
Show itself on that side of the rainbow. Then there's the other side of the rainbow, right, where toxic masculinity can be um, illustrated with, I don't know, let's call it a character that talks down to women, or
right.
that's all about muscles and nothing else. Not that muscles are bad, right? But like they're just like just meatheads or whatever, and that's their
Those,
whole
those are
life.
those are people who haven't had those awakening moments, who
Mhm.
aren't like that, who don't even know that those other planes of consciousness even exist.
Right. And
So
so awakening to this masculine. Now this is now we've talked about spiritual awakening in past episodes, and one specific episode that was the topic at hand. Um, and I had asked, how do you get someone to awaken? So, you're like, you can't. They do it when they're ready. You can plant seeds, you can give them books, you can do this and that, but until they're ready or until they have their time, and their life's events push them in that direction or open up the door for them to see what that's all about, it's not going to happen. But this is different, right? Like when we're talking about awakening the divine masculine, we could help each other with that, right? And
yeah, I came up with a list of 6 ways that we could awaken the divine masculine. So maybe we can go into that, and then
sure.
add whatever things that you need to be healed. The first part I put number one is just telling the truth and being honest. Sometimes we don't tell the truth in situations because we're afraid of being judged. We're afraid we're not going to be accepted. We're not, and that causes us to not be authentic. So the challenge is to tell the truth in situations, even if you know the other person is not going to agree with you. It doesn't mean being a jerk, of course. There's a kind way of.
Right, tell the truth, just don't be a dickhead. Yeah, right.
Exactly,
Right,
exactly.
right.
And also being honest with yourself. Be honest with why you're doing what you're doing. Be honest with your intentions. Are you doing something nice? Where's it coming out of? Is it coming out of because you want that person to like you, you want that person's acceptance, or is it because you really care about that person and it's a nice thing to do?
That sounds like a little five agreements type of thing. So that be impeccable with your word is one of the what was once 4 agreements is now 5 agreements. The fifth being be skeptical but listen. It's the fifth agreement. But yeah, I think actually all the agreements, the 4 other agreements, 5 total, would all fall in line with promoting divine masculinity. But to your point, the first one being honest or being impeccable with your word. Yeah, because I know growing up as a young lad, lying was like rampant. Lying was a skill. It was an art. People would say, "Man, you should be a lawyer." You should like. I don't want to celebrate the rest of my life because I'm adept at lying. Lying got us out of trouble as kids and stuff like that. It helped us survive in a lot of instances too. Um, to stay out of trouble or to miss the swinging hand of a parent or something like that. Like, I swear it wasn't me, it was my brother, whatever the lie may be. But, as men and stepping into that divine masculinity, I think it's a great platform to dive off of there. And it's just be honest. It's not easy, especially if you spent a lifetime, telling even white lies. None of it, there's no room for it when you're stepping into the expression of divine masculinity. It just doesn't have any place. It's counterproductive. It's silly. It's stupid. Don't do it. Just be honest. If you're going to
Yeah.
hurt some people along the way,
Oh
again,
yeah.
don't be an asshole. Just tell the truth. And there's ways to present that, I think.
And you'll be respected more for doing that anyways,
I
because
think so.
nobody wants you to lie just to agree with them and tell them what they want to hear.
Yeah.
So
Well,
I put number 2, set boundaries. setting boundaries for yourself, learning to say no to others, that it's okay to say no. So somebody who with a suppressed divine masculine will probably have a trouble doing this because they want to be liked, they want to be loved. And it really always comes down to loving yourself. So some ways you can do that, or, saying no to people, putting yourself first in some situations. Now, putting yourself first isn't, sometimes someone who's spiritual may look at that as a paradox. Like, well, I shouldn't put myself first. That's egotistical. Aren't we supposed to love other people and do that? And so what do you think about that?
Yeah, no, it doesn't work. It's not sustainable. And
No.
you empty your cup, and you always have to, yeah, it's a very admirable life. And it's, of course, we're here to help other people in their journeys, and our family and our loved ones, our friends, and what have you. But first and foremost, you got to put yourself, because I've been there. I've served everyone as an actual server, in a restaurant for many years to provide for my family, um, in a financial way. And then as the host to parties at my house, and running around town and doing things for other people. And eventually you just burn out, man. You can't help everyone. And it's not your job to help everyone. And it's kind of a way to distract yourself too from helping yourself, because you get so caught up in the helping of other people that you identify with, that's what I do. That's what I do. And that's who I am. I help other people, that you totally lose who you actually really are, because you're scared of that, or you don't want to deal with that, or whatever. It's that suppression again. And
Right.
yeah, I think once you start to love yourself, like that's been the resounding theme so far in the first two steps of your awakening process, is then you have a different space, and a different energy to help other people, because you have helped yourself. And in lieu of doing that, you're also helping others by living that example too. Like,
I
like
agree
you said,
totally.
being honest and stuff like that, people that radiates outwards. And there's other steps and things that I'm sure you wrote down. And one of the things that I wrote down is just being mindful of your posture too. That's one thing that you could, just sitting up straight, when you're walking, anywhere, just walking tall with your back, nice and firm, and your chest out, not to be like, I'm Mr. Macho Man, but it's just, I'm here, and I'm present, and I'm in the moment. I'm here for you if you need me, but I'm walking like this because I'm stepping firmly and powerfully and
Stepping into
proudly.
power.
Right. And that's a lot of us slouch. I mean, I've been doing it on the call here. I've been doing this, man. And it's a lot of times not comfortable to do this. But it's just something that we have to retrain ourselves, that this is what our body wants. It doesn't want this. It wants this. This feels powerful. This feels like lazy and just kind of like, all right, man,
Kind
whatever,
of weak.
dude. Yeah.
Yeah.
So here I am for the rest of the show, folks.
For number 3, I put do something spontaneous. So that could be maybe asking somebody out on a date. If you're with somebody already in a relationship, maybe planning something, planning a trip, going somewhere, maybe spontaneous lovemaking.
There's no
So
maybe about it. Definitely have that.
maybe.
No maybe, baby.
Doing something spontaneous. That's part of, to me, that's part of awakening the divine masculine and doing that. And because the divine masculine is all about action.
Yep.
And when you're doing something spontaneous, you're not letting those fear thoughts kind of get in the way. You're not talking yourself out of it. So do something spontaneous.
I like that. I like that you touched on the sexual aspect of it too. Um, I think it's very important that you honor the sexuality in yourself in a non-toxic way, and of course in a respectful way, but not to suppress those sexual feelings, and really just let it pour forth. Don't let it necessarily get stuck down in the lower chakra regions, but let it come up to your heart, and up into your crown and your mind, and let that sexuality fully embody you, and you will shine profusely, and just to share that in a healthy way. you know, and there's healthy ways to do that, and that's to allow it. And again, in a respectful way, in a consensual way, but also when you're by yourself, just honoring these feelings and these urges in you, and just allowing them to come up and come out in a glorious and mutually respectful way for, you know, your friends, your family. You know, you're not going to just start, you know, jumping on the couch and being like, I gotta express myself and stuff like that. You know what I mean? Like,
Healthy expressions.
right, and not pushing them down. Not like, oh, this is bad, that I'm having these feelings or whatever, and talking to other men about these sexual feelings, or other women or whatever, and not, you know, pushing it down, but letting it come out, I guess is what I'm trying to say.
Definitely, definitely. Next on my list, I put shadow work.
Wow.
We have divine masculine is suppressed for a reason, and most of the times it's because of something in childhood. There's a reason for it. So, and there's a lot of different ways of doing shadow work, and we could do a whole episode just on that, of course. So, I mean, both of us are certified in the completion process, which is a form of doing shadow work. But you don't need to do that. There's a lot of other books out there. There's a lot of other techniques, but that's very vital if you're going to want to awaken your divine masculine, is doing that healing work and going within. I don't think there's any other way you can bring that out and without doing that.
Right. And with that comes a very healthy taking responsibility for your life, for your actions. No more victim blaming, pointing. And there was a time for that. There was a time where we felt that way, and it was inescapable. And we're like, my parents did this to me, or my uncle did that to me. And that's all going to come up in the shadow work. And what we do moving forward with that forward moving divine masculine energy is we self actualize, and we get more intimate with those things that come up in that shadow work, and we go, all right, this is where I came from, this is what I went through, this is where I'm going, you know, and this is where I see myself headed, and where I'm going to put myself in the movie that's playing out before me, that I'm the screenwriter for. Thank you very much. Bodhi Shiva, by the way, folks. He joined us today as Bodhi Shiva.
Yes. Number 5, I put finish a task that you started. Now, this could be a home project that you had that you stopped. Maybe you procrastinated on something. This could be your New Year's resolution that you just, let slide, a workout plan, a diet. But like you said, the divine masculine is moving forward. It's action, it's accountability, it's determination. So I think this could be one way that you do that. You look at that, whatever, that unfinished project that you've been leaving behind. You're like, you know what? I'm going to go back to that. I'm going to finish that. I'm going to get back on track with that. And I think doing that is going to show you that what you are capable of, and that even though you let it go, you let it slide, you could still do it. It's still possible. And if you can't, I think we all have something that we can pick, but if you can't pick that, then maybe set a new goal.
Right. Yeah. And piggybacking on that, a great way to express the divine masculine is to choose a skill, or go back to one that you started, like you said, long ago. Maybe it's the guitar, and become an expert at that, and really devote your time and your passion and your energy in that. Not that you're going to be the next, guitar hero, man, and you and the band are getting back together, but just to own that, and to, not because, it's, I play the guitar now and I'm awesome, but because you love it too. So as you're loving yourself and you're going through that process, as you said, and we're doing the shadow work and this thing, you're like, man, I missed the guitar. Well, pick that up, man, and start shredding again, and seek out a teacher. So it's okay to be the student. You don't always have to be the master, and do things by yourself. But back to what you said too, be honest. Do I need a teacher? Yes, I do. Find an awesome shredding guitar teacher and learn from him or her. And yeah, I think that's important.
And then lastly, number 6, well, this is where the divine part kind of comes in.
Here we go.
So you'll be waking up to some masculine parts. Where the divinity comes in is through service. serving others, using your talents, using your skills, using that energy to help better other people, better the world. Now, that could be so many different ways you can do that. It doesn't always have to be going out and feeding the poor or giving money to charity or even starting a. It could be something like this, like starting a podcast. It could be writing a book. It could be doing art. It could be doing like your stand up. You could be doing whatever gifts you have, you offer them to the service of the betterment of the world. Ram Dass's guru, Maharaji, was this great Indian saint. And he had hundreds and hundreds of followers. And people would go to him and be like, Maharaji, how do I become enlightened? And he would say, serve people. And they'd be like, well, how do you raise Kundalini? How do you raise this energy up? He would say, feed people. So he would say, serve people, feed people. He never tell people to meditate or do this mantra or go up in the Himalayas and sit there for 30 years. His whole advice was serve people, feed people. And that's really what happens when we become awakened. Eventually we turn to some sort of service. We turn that outward to helping other people.
So this because we just talked about this and me serving all these people and doing all these things where it wasn't serving me well, and it wasn't. So this is an end step. This is when you do all that stuff.
Yes.
And you fed yourself, and you've learned to love yourself, and you're sitting taller, walking taller. Your wardrobe has even changed, perhaps. You're wearing clothes. A lot of us, we wear extra large stuff when we're feeling a little not in our skin confidently and stuff like that. So maybe you have your own style now too that you've cultivated, and you're, not that it's about physical appearance, but in a sense, it's the way that we feel in our physical appearance.
You're serving the one.
Right.
See, the divine masculine serves the divine feminine. And then the divine feminine nurtures the divine masculine. So it's a circle. It's like a yin yang. If you look at like a yin yang, the divine masculine, divine feminine, each of them have a little part of that energy within themselves too. But it's all in one circle. It's all in union.
Mm.
So that's what the divine masculine works to serve. That you're serving the divine, and it comes out of serving the oneness. Is when you're in that point where you love everyone, you see everyone as an aspect of yourself. So it's really like true service. It's not, I guess you can call someone who's unawakened. They say, yeah, I'm serving other people. You're not really serving other people. But you're trying to do that because you're trying to get something back out of it.
Right.
You're trying to get that acceptance or something because you don't accept yourself, and you're looking for their acceptance.
Right.
To know whether you're acceptable for yourself. So you're looking outward for that internal validation.
Yeah, I've heard someone say that people that claim to be selfless are very often the most selfish people.
Yeah.
And unbeknownst to them, until you explain it the way that you're explaining it, is that they're getting their needs met by helping you, even if you're not asking for their help, right? In a lot of instances. And I used to be that person too. I used to give unsolicited advice all the time until recently I realized that's not the best way to show up for somebody. In fact, it's just the opposite way that most people need or want you to show up for them.
Yeah, definitely. A lot of times it's more just holding space and listening.
Right. Where I'm like, I've got the cure. I'm here. Yeah, I didn't call you. I know, but I've been there. Here, let me share this with you. And they're like, yeah, but I don't. No. And you just force your will upon them. And you're like, this is what I do, man. I help people. Let me help you.
Right. And it's not really helping. It's just an outlet for that wound, I guess, that you're trying to either heal.
And to your point too about connecting with the yin yang and understanding it all and how one serves the other, I think it's also important to learn as much about women and femininity as we can, and connecting with them and listening and understanding, whether it's through literature or group conversation or one-on-one interaction, but really devoting some quality time and energy toward a greater understanding of what we are not, and that is, as far as you and I are concerned, are women, and what it means to be woman, what it means for the divine feminine aspect um, of the other side of the conversation as well, so that we can best serve that and
Right.
show up
But
for
we,
that.
but we,
And
but we have those energies within us too, though. We have aspects of divine feminine and divine masculine within us. It's just that it happens on a different ratio for different people. You know.
absolutely.
So,
So what else do we got? So that was those were the steps that you put together there. Oh, and there was and also to hop on that last theme there too. I did have a nice quote from Ralph Smart, who said in one of his videos, in order to awaken or activate the divine masculine inside yourself, you have to start standing up for what you believe is right.
yeah, that's being honest, being truthful, being authentic, taking
Right.
action.
And following through with things, finishing something. So say you have an idea about a cause, or helping a neighbor, or whatever the case may be, just following through,
Yeah.
um, and showing up for someone, even if it's difficult or uncomfortable, in a way, because inherently in your heart that it's right for me to be there for this cause, this person, this project, whatever.
Yeah, and
Yeah.
as you awaken to the divine, to the divinity within yourself, and you were able to recognize that in yourself, you're able to see it in other people. So when you're serving other people, I'm not serving your ego. I'm serving that within you that is divine
Mm,
being. So that's where it's coming from. It's coming from a higher place.
mm. I like that. And I also say, cry, damn it. Cry. Because we were taught as young boys, a lot of us were taught, like, suck up those tears, be a man. It is not being a man sucking up your tears. In fact, it's
No, it's
just the
not.
opposite. That's toxic masculinity. That's not expressing, that's not being truthful. It's not showing your emotions. I think the men that cry show a very, very severe, just they have they're displaying to me strength. When I see a man cry, and or show their anger in a healthy way, or any emotion, and they do it publicly in a respectful way, not in a loud let's fuck everybody up type of way, I think it's very strong.
I
And
think an awakened man um, doesn't hide from his vulnerabilities.
there we go. Better said than my scrambling there.
Where a wounded masculine male will try to hide, suppress those vulnerabilities by trying to, maybe act tough, either with their actions or their look. Where it's okay to be vulnerable, and it takes more strength to own your vulnerability than it is to hide it. I mean, it's
Yeah.
easy to hide it. Anyone could do that.
And I don't know about you, man, but I agreed. But I don't think many men on this planet presently embody um, the divine masculine. In fact, I haven't met many or seen many where I'm like, dude, that's the example right there. It's right. I've seen it, and I aspire to it. And just to make it clear to the audience and our listeners, viewers, et cetera, I'm on the journey to understand it. Well, I think one of the reasons why we picked this topic was to remind ourselves of the things, and to make our internal visual, what do you call them, dream boards and stuff, like this is what I need to work on, this is what I'm aspiring to become. Because I don't stand or sit here before you today saying I embody the divine masculine in every element and aspect of my life. No way. It's a project, man, because I've been a program of just the opposite for most of my life. And so, have you seen many men? Do you know many men that really encapsulate this entire thing we're talking about?
Hmm. I've known a couple. I know one at least that I used to work with. Hard to say, because sometimes we're not. When we think of masculine, we may think people like Arnold Schwarzenegger. We may think of like people like Vin Diesel, or
Right.
you, hey, what's examples of masculine men? Eh, You know, we use a lot of society conditioning to
Right.
kind of
And whereas those gentlemen that you just listed
yeah,
off, they portray certain elements of the divine
right.
masculine, but are they embodying this whole concept that we're talking about? Which, I mean, to me, it's a complete it's a it's a complete package. Not if you're missing one thing, man, you've missed the cut. You're not qualified to be considered divine masculine yet. But I really think that when you've got a good grasp of all those things and you're at least applying some of those concepts here and there and everywhere, that you show up in life differently and people notice that.
I think it's just someone who's embodying divine masculine is just someone who's just living authentically. That's really all. That's all it is. Is someone. It's not trying to be anything different or trying to ride in a Harley or having tattoos or
Right.
24-inch biceps or anything like that. It's just somebody who's just living in the moment, living as they are, and not just being real. The more real you are, the more divine masculinity you're gonna portray.
And so the more authentic we're being with ourselves, what I'm hearing is that we would more fluidly connect with those aspects of divine masculinity. They would come out, because if we're not living authentic, what we're probably doing is we're suppressing some of those things that would.
Right. And you have to be the incarnation that you are. And however that is going to manifest itself differently for every person.
Mm,
So there is no that's why you can't it's hard to say look at somebody like, hey, give me an example of somebody that you know like that, because everyone's a unique expression.
mm,
So everyone's gonna it's not gonna be the same for every single person. Somebody with a very strong divine masculine could be somebody who's a painter, somebody who could be an artist. It could be somebody. It doesn't have to be somebody doing, I guess, what you would call a manly job, like a construction worker or anything like
right,
that.
right. Right. That is not part of the qualifying checkpoints to make the final cut there. So, I feel like I had a question for you. I know we have to get to the cards and stuff, but I just want to make sure we cover everything here. This is a really good topic. Thank you for choosing it, by the way. Again, great timing. I needed a lot of these gentle reminders to help me flow in the right direction of things to focus on. And let's see, I'm looking at my notes. Willingness to make mistakes. That's big. It's okay to make mistakes.
Right.
That's
Like,
that's part of the forward. That's part of not being stuck as an artist or as a construction worker. Anything that you do in your trade and your whether it's your profession or your hobbies or whatever, to not get stuck and be like, oh, I can't write this book. I'm not ready yet, or it's not going to be.
that kind of goes with vulnerability too.
They all
That
fall under the umbrella of either authenticity or vulnerability. Is that what you're telling me, Ray?
seems that way, doesn't it?
Get some momentum. Identify areas of stagnation in your life.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah,
like
definitely. I mean, we all have those areas. That's kind of like what made me think of like redoing a project that you kind of left off, that maybe you kind of set aside or procrastinated against, and go back and finish that book, take those guitar lessons like you said.
take a skill, examine. The only other thing I have written down here is examining our resistance to being a male. And this pertains to physically, emotionally, mentally, and spiritually.
Mm. Well, I mean, the idea of being a male, I mean, sometimes that comes from outside external sources, and sometimes those images might be flawed. Something that we see on TV, or we have an idea of what a masculine male, divine masculine should be, when it's really not. Like those ideas, what I said, somebody who's ripped biceps and
Right.
has,
So therein might reside some of our resistance then, right? So we're like, I don't want to be like that guy, and thinking like that's what it is, right? And
right. And you may use, some spirituality stuff to say that, or even just, or maybe you are somewhat like that and you think it's bad. Maybe you are kind of that person who wants to go out there and buy a Harley and wants to do, I guess, quote manly stuff, but you may feel that is wrong because you're spiritual, and because you're spiritual, you may take more of a passive approach when you're actually, and that's why you're suppressing the masculinity, because you want to be that, you want to get the tattoo, you want to do that stuff, and you want to go on dates, and you want to have fun, and you feel like you can't because you have to be something different than what you are.
Right. And I think that definitely probably spills into where we live too in the world, and what it means, what the idea of man is in certain cultures and societies and stuff too. So, and being that we have a global audience, I think it's noteworthy to bring that up as well. To say explore, what that means, maybe from a societal standpoint, to be a man, and how you feel about that authentically, right? And if you feel like you fit that mold, you don't feel you fit that mold. What does that expression mean for you versus what is the norm? And you understand what I'm saying?
Yeah, I understand what you're saying. Yeah, there's a lot of different cultural things that make it different than
Right.
generally what a man is or what a man should be.
Right. And things we may have resistance to, or like you said, bringing up the tattoo thing that we might want to do, but we think is wrong or whatever. And really just getting intimate with, I want to say, just like washing those conversations away and honoring the one within, like you said, Ray, just being vulnerable, being authentic, and allowing that expression to come out. And if that expression is in the form of a tattoo, I don't think that matters really where you live in the world, right?
Right. Yeah. So it's just, I see what you're saying.
So, and on that note, surprise, I managed to keep my mouth shut this time. I didn't tell you, but we are now up to 24 countries. We've added 2 more. And you had some guesses. We were going back and forth the messenger, and I was like, nope. So, are you ready?
I'm ready.
We have added Austria. Thank you, Austria. Thank you for joining the Bodhi Bros. Whomever you are, wherever you are in Austria, we thank you. And that's my really weird drum roll. Peru.
Thank you, Peru.
Right?
Namaste, Peru.
Yes, message us, Peru. We want to hold a retreat down there in Peru, a Bodhi Bros style. For sure.
Sure.
I got some.
Awesome. Thank you, guys.
Got some new friends that are really excited about plant medicine that might want to join us. You know what I'm talking about. All right, so yeah, it's time. It's time.
Right. I got Toth. I don't know how you say it, Toth.
I thought it said sloth at first. I'm like, all right, we're reading on the sloth.
So these were created by Mr. Crowley. So
all right.
Card for the collective. Now I have to look up the meaning online because there's no book that came with these.
Okay.
But these cards are very, very accurate, I found. So
all right.
These little shuffle, get my.
All right. I'm gonna sing a theme song. I'm gonna sing a theme song. See if you can pick it out. Hoping to find we're 2 of a kind, making it all together. We're gonna find our way. You and I together.
Growing pains?
Taking the time each day. Although there's something, the things I just can't hide. We're 2 silver spoons together.
Oh, that's right. Silver spoons.
Dude, before you jumped on the call today, that song was in my head. I haven't watched that show in like 20, 30 years, man. But it was.
They have that little train or something?
Yes. Ricky Schroeder. All right.
I think he goes by Rick Schroeder now, doesn't he?
The Ricker. Rick, yes, he is Rick Schroeder now. That's right.
Schroeder.
Correct. Right.
All right.
Divine masculine
is virtue.
Is there a number? I can't see it.
This says number 3.
Ooh. Does it?
Virtue. So You can entertain while
Oh,
life
thanks.
is
As you
really
guys see, I
fast.
shaved the old noggin. I get frustrated with the hair, so I shaved it. Those of you listening, it's entirely shaved with some fuzzies here. The light hits it in weird ways and makes my hairline look funky, but it'll grow back fast. And I'll have a lion's mane before we know it. You
Okay,
ready?
you ready?
I'm ready.
This card, Lord of Virtue, represents our trueness to our own inner needs and inspirations. It represents a point of inner balance where we are clear about the things we want to create in our lives and confident in our ability to make our dreams come true. Out of this clarity and confidence arises new quality of self-reliance and happiness. We develop a new understanding of our virtues, our skills, our talents. We have a better view of what we have to offer and what we need in return. We become more aware of ourselves and more in harmony with the powers of light. When this card comes up in your reading, it is important that you cast aside doubts and fears, refusing to fall back into old habits. Instead, you must turn your face to the future, trusting in your own power, making no compromises. Trust yourself and everything else will fall into place.
I can't think of a better divine masculine card than that one. I mean, that was all
Yeah,
about
really.
forward moving energy, no looking back, facing your fears. Here we go. Here we go. All right.
Yeah, that was
That summed it up.
something up right there.
So that was a collective card, meaning that anytime that you log into this podcast, this recording, and you made it to this portion of the show, that card was not just for Ray and I. That card was for you and is for you and shall be
Virtue.
for you anytime that you think about this show or should stumble upon it in the future, not just today. So on that note, Ray, I think we covered the topic pretty well in the allotted time.
So
Yeah. Yeah.
I think so too.
Yeah.
Anyone out there have any ideas for any topics for future shows? Let us know.
Let us know, folks. We need some topics. Ray does a great job picking topics, but like we want to do a show especially for you. Like, how awesome would that be? They're like, that's my topic, man. That's my guy. Those are my guys doing my topic, and we will do it. I mean, I'll do research. Sometimes when Ray gives me a topic, I'm like, I'm not doing research. I'm just going to flow with it and go. But like, if you pick something, not discounting, my relationship with Ray, but if you guys pick something, I'm doing some research, man. I'm diving in. I'm gonna make it extra special. I think that's kind of why, one of the reasons why we want you guys to give to us, because a lot of times we just think, we could talk about anything, but man,
Keep it a little bit of a challenge.
yes,
Challenge us.
come on,
Come on.
we're ready.
What do you want? Kundalini?
Yeah.
What do you want? Tantra? What
do
is
you-
it?
Yeah. What do you want?
What you want?
Community living, clean living. You want spiral
chakra.
dynamic. What do you want, man? Throw any topics at us. None of the ones we just mentioned. Something else, or all of them put together. We'll do a potpourri episode. That would be fun. Just talk about whatever we want. Why did I just censor myself? Why the fuck did I just censor myself? Sorry.
We just have a hat of different things we just pull up like.
Ooh, that would be fun.
Not like pardon the interruption. Was it like you have 2 minutes to talk about like?
Yes, I love that idea. Just we'll each have our little hat,
like a lightning round of.
Yeah, we'll have a little fishbowl, our own little hats, and we'll dive in and pull the topic out, and then just go. I like that. Something to think about. All right, and if you have ideas like that and things we can do on the show, games we could play, whatever, places to hold our first retreat and other retreats, start flooding us with some 411, folks. Thank you for the Facebook likes. Thank you for the subscribe. Please subscribe. Please like. People won't be made aware unless you do so. It's just the way the algorithm works. So the way you can give back from what we've given doesn't have to be money, although we'd gladly take money. Send that to us as well. We still need new equipment, microphones, cameras, etc. Higher internet speeds, whatever. Like the stuff, share the stuff. If you thought you connected with an episode, share it on your page. Be like, hey, these guys are pretty cool. If you're looking for a new podcast, Bodhi Bros, we would love that. And we thank you.
Thank you.
See you next time, folks.
All right. Be out.